Hi, this is Brennan Davis from Bedrock Games and the Bedrock blog, and today I'm going to be reviewing Temple of the Red Lotus, a film starring Wang Yu, Ivy Ling Po, Chin Ping, and a number of other actors and actresses that you'll recognize, like Lieh and Tien Feng. But Wang Yu is the star, and Chin Ping is sort of the co-star. And Ivy Ling Po has a very important role, but it's not as central. It's more she's more of a side character, at least in this first installment. This is the first film in a series of three, so it's a trilogy. I just saw it last night. I hadn't seen it before. I was aware of it. It actually was released before Come Drink with Me. It came out in 1965, and it was part of this whole new wuxia action thing that Shaw Brothers was trying to do, which was to move away from the more stagey stuff that had come before, the more fantastic, and do something a little bit more realistic. So this was sort of part of a number of films that came out this year, and this is one of the more well-known ones. And it's one that I've sort of it's been on my list, but I just haven't seen it. And part of that was, you know, I had other things to watch that I wanted to see, but also I actually had a little trouble tracking this one down for a bit for some reason. Though it's available now, so I don't know if I just wasn't finding it. Maybe my Google foo was weak. So you should be able to get this one. And it's a pretty simple storyline. It's basically about a guy. His character's name is Wu, and it's played by Wang Yu, and he's in this caravan of traveling across China, and it gets attacked by who we think are bandits, and he's wounded, and then he's nursed back to health by this woman named the Lady in Red, who's played by Ivy Ling Po, and we find out from there that he has a couple of objectives he's trying to achieve, and so he wants to uh, meet with his future in-laws at a place in the film. On my subtitles, it was called Jin Castle, but it's probably something more like Jin Villa or something of that nature. So he has to go there, and there's a marriage that's been arranged between the families, and so he has to marry the daughter. And he also wants to get revenge for his family who were massacred, though they just kind of hint at what happened. They don't really go into much detail. And he also has to find his aunt. These are the pieces that are gonna sort of that you assume are going to be dealt with in the course of the three films. And this is again just the first installment. So if you watch it thinking, oh, this is just a solitary movie, you'll be a little disappointed by the end because it ends at a point where things are just starting to cook up. So, anyways, he goes to the family residence. He ends up marrying the daughter. It turns out that the bandits that attacked his caravan were the father-in-law and his men. Now, I don't want to give too much away, but there is more to it than that, and I like how they deal with that aspect of the storyline. But because he thinks that the father-in-law is a bandit, he's like, I can't stay here anymore, and I have to go get revenge for my family. So him and his new wife decide to leave. But there's this really crazy rule that the family has that once you've learned their sword play, you can't leave. And if you're gonna leave, you have to face like all the family members in combat. So they decide to leave when the father is away with his men because they know that they'll only have to face off against the women. But it turns out the women are complete badasses anyways, so they have to fight all of the different women. And the women basically let them go. They don't really want to stop them, but they have to at least make a demonstration of it. So it's kind of a cool sequence where the husband and wife are fighting like the aunt and then the mother and then the grandma. And I liked sort of the steps through that. The husband and wife leave. They end up seeking shelter at a temple, and the temple, it turns out, is involved in bad stuff, which ties to the earlier caravan attack. And then they when they find out that the temple's filled with bad men, they attack the temple, and they try to help some hostages escape. And then they're eventually aided by the Lady in Red, and then the Lady in Red reveals information to them that sort of sets the stage for the next film. And again, I'm trying to do this without spoiling things, so it's very difficult because there's some very important plot points that go on at the at each of these junctures. But I couldn't without. It's hard to talk about it without spoiling it, so I'm being deliberately vague, and I hope it doesn't it doesn't make the plot sound too murky because it really is a very simple, clear plot line. I think it's really nice the way it's done. What I really liked about it was there's an almost a kind of perverse meet the Fockers thing going on early in the film where the bulk of the story is him sort of getting to understand the family that he's married into, and it dawning on him that they might have been the bandits that attacked his caravan. And so that, it's kind of like the in-laws from hell where he has to escape by fighting with the aunts, the mom, and the grandma. And I just really liked that setup. I thought it was and I like the whole husband and wife team. I like that from the Condor Heroes series, and I like that here. I think part of it is I like having that balance. I like having sort of the male and the female hero because it just kind of gives a different dynamic than you sometimes get if it's just a guy or just a woman. Um, but I don't know, something about that I think is you don't see it in too many other genres, but in wuxia you see it a lot, and I think it's a nice it's a nice sort of a nice party setup for to follow around a husband and wife. So anyways, yeah. So this is my first time seeing it. I thought that it was a good movie. It had a little less action than I was hoping for, but the action that was there was good. I think to modern eyes, it's going to look a little bit dated. I still think Come Drink With Me looks like it's a little more forward looking if you try to compare them. But there were some cool things in this one, especially with things like when the people attacked, they got into like really nice looking stances, and some of the action was very sort of sudden, and it worked. I thought they did a good job, but it's probably going to look more on the swashbuckle side to people if you're not used to watching these older movies. And Jimmy Wang Yu is very good in this. I like Jimmy Wang Yu in most of the movies I've seen him in, and it's nice to kind of see him in a very early film like this where you can tell he's still kind of a junior actor maybe. Um, I was hoping for a little more Ivy Ling Po. I saw her name on the screen at the beginning. They did say she guest stars, so it's not really like she's the main attraction. I'm hoping that as the series goes on, that her character is more prominent. But I loved I loved the family. I loved the grandma in this is great. The father is a very interesting character. The Jimmy Wang Yu's character is a little bit of a, I don't want to say dunce, but there's a little bit of he's not, his skills haven't quite risen to the level of where you're hoping they will be. And I think this is going to be the kind of series where by the end he'll have improved greatly. But you got to kind of watch as he and his wife improve their kung fu skills and their swordplay skills over the course of the trilogy. So yeah, so again, this is a very early sort of 1965 wuxia movie. So it's not going to be for everybody. I've recommended films like Come Drink With Me to people, and sometimes they've told me it was too slow or whatever. I like this stuff, so if you don't mind some of the slower pacing, if you don't mind the older music and everything like that, I think these are great. Also, the great thing about these early movies, especially when they've been restored and stuff, is because a lot of them, and again, I don't know why this is. I don't know much about film, but a lot of these Shaw Brothers films are filmed on sets, and for whatever reason, that really seems to hold up. I don't know if it's because of the lightning or the lack of sunlight, in the film, but they just hold up really well over the years. And so, just with whenever I find these, film quality is usually good. The ones that aren't Shaw Brothers that were filmed maybe outside tend to have the quality of the footage has maybe declined over the years. And again, I'm not a film expert, so I don't know why that is. Maybe I just got lucky with the movies I got. No idea. So yeah, so I would recommend this movie. I think that again, it's not super heavy on the action throughout. There's a lot of story to deal with. There's a lot of character interaction, but the character interaction is interesting, and I found early on I found myself a little bit impatient, But then once I settled into the flow, I was fine, and especially once they got to the sort of the wedding where things were really kind of getting to the really building. Then I was pretty immersed in it, and the villains, the Red Lotus Temple, they're the villains in this, and they are nefarious. They are some of the most brutish and evil characters I've seen on screen. I'm looking forward to hopefully finding more about them in the next installment. I'm assuming that they're involved, but I don't know for sure. Maybe they maybe they don't come back after this first one. And again, I did look at the follow-ups to this. They are a little harder to find, so I don't like to review films that are difficult to get. I think I managed to get a copy of the second and third installment, but I'm not 100% sure yet. So if I did, I'm debating whether I should continue reviewing these. And the reason why is some of these movies get really expensive when they're hard to find, and I don't like reviewing films that are that expensive because I don't want people to feel like they gotta spend $1 billion to watch these things. But we'll see, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe like in a few months these will be readily available and it won't be such an issue. But for right now, the first one's definitely easy to get. I saw this all over the place. The second one I had a lot of trouble finding. The third one I had an easier time finding, but it still looks like it might be a bit tricky. So the second one, like I don't think you're going to get that in Region 1. And this, I think, this is Region 3. So if you don't have I should mention to people, if you don't have a Region 3 player, something like this might be hard to see. There are ways around that. I'm not going to get into that in this video, but there are ways to watch stuff out of your region. I thought it was a good movie, and I thought the action was good. I thought the story was good, and I thought the characters and the acting were great. And I'm looking forward to the rest of the installment. The only caution I would give is that it again, it's 1965, so the pacing might seem a little bit slow to people if they're not accustomed to these older movies. So all right, I will let you go, and I will talk to you later.